Okay, welcome back to the video. Now I'm actually recording this video. It's been close to 2 weeks since I recorded the failure there getting over to Titan. So I'm going to try this again. In the meantime, I've actually recorded the entire Mars to Jupiter video and landed at Europa. So that's completely done, and I guess this will actually be uploaded before that. So I shouldn't really say anything more about that video. But anyway, what I'm going to try to do here, a couple of different things. I have already passed periapsis at Saturn, and I'm on my way over to Titan. Now, without giving too much away, one thing I learned in the last 2 weeks of recording the other video is that this method isn't necessarily the best way to get to the moon, to get to a moon around one of these gas giants. And the reason, I think, largely is because I'm coming in so close to Saturn that I'm getting a large velocity boost and then being kind of flung out over this way toward Titan. So I'm going to try to resolve this one more time, and if I can't, then what I might do is back up to an earlier point in this Mars to Saturn video and come into Saturn with a different approach. But let's cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's first see if there's any way to resolve this current setup of getting to Titan using this method. Do give me a moment here to refresh myself as to exactly what I've got going on here, because again, it's been close to 2 weeks since I've touched this scenario. So let me bring up excuse me. I do apologize about all my throat and lung problems. There's very little I can do about it. But anyway, what I was saying is I want to bring up TransX and just kind of take a look here. Okay, I think this was part of the problem. Was I've currently got TransX set up so that it's going to send me through the middle of Titan. And if I remember correctly, I had to do a large burn last time to get myself away from Titan a little bit. So let me go prograde to Saturn, which looks like I already am. And let me start by
translation,
using a little bit of linear translation to see if I can just push myself to one side or the other. Yeah, let's go this way. That's bringing my inclination down, so I'll be coming to Titan in a normal, with a normal inclination of coming out of the west, heading toward the east. Whereas if I had the inclination going the other way, then I would have a retrograde orbit. So I'm just using translation here. So it's not a ton of fuel, it's not a lot of delta V. Okay, we're almost to the surface. And we'll go with that for now, because I don't know how much this is going to change by the time I get over to Titan. Okay. Guess I'll go ahead and warp time ahead now to get closer to Titan. Because I'm here. I've got to get all the way out there. It's quite a ways out yet.
Rotation.
That's Titan there. So you can see our altitude going up and down there. It's got us now impacting the surface again, so we'll keep an eye on that. See if it comes up a little bit. Okay. Let's do a little bit of linear again.
Translation.
Okay. Warping time forward again. Let me just think about this for a moment. Let me reference Titan, and what I want to do is copy that information to the HUD, so that'll give me my velocity relative to Titan. So 9,000 meters a second currently. The question I have in my head is, can I actually use the atmosphere of Titan to eliminate all that velocity? Now what I'm thinking is that when you come back to Earth from the moon, you're traveling at 11,000 kilometers or 11,000 meters a second, about 11 kilometers per second. And you can use the atmosphere of Earth. But Earth also is much larger than Titan, so its gravitational pull will be higher, which means you're not as likely to skip out. Whereas here, I'm traveling quite quickly, and I'll be hitting a target that doesn't have a large gravitational pull, so the likelihood of skipping out is quite high, I think. So let me bring up burn time calculator, and just let me see what it would take to eliminate that much velocity using the full power of the main engines. So why is that not letting me go manual? I don't know. So I'll put in 9206, hit enter. And something else, I think I pointed this out in the third Learn With Me, so something that you'll see in that video. One of the people that watched my first Learn With Me commented that you can actually use burn time calculator to see if you'll have enough fuel to do the burn or not. And this is something I hadn't really paid a lot of attention to, so I thank that person. Basically what you're looking for here is this tells you what your vehicle will weigh after you complete whatever burn you set up here. And this tells you how much your vehicle would weigh if it's empty. If this number is less than that number, then it means you do not have enough fuel to complete the burn. In this instance, this number is higher than this number, not by much, but it does mean that I would have enough fuel to complete the burn. However, as I get closer to Titan, this number is going to go down because Saturn is continually pulling me in. So here in a little bit I'll be able to adjust this lower, but it probably won't be significant. So, but I don't necessarily need to eliminate all my velocity, because I can use the atmosphere of Titan, I just don't know how much. I'm thinking maybe if I can just bring that down to 3,000 meters a second, then the atmosphere would be sufficient to do the rest of the job. Let me also do this. Let me switch to surface. That'll let me know how close I am. I'm still 265,000 kilometers out.
Rotation.
And let me just check here. Burn time calculator says that I would need 2,500 kilometers to eliminate that much velocity. So I'll just keep that in mind as I get closer. And the more this comes down, the better off I'm going to be. So I will have enough fuel to do this. Okay, we're getting in. We're not too terribly far away from Titan now. So let's do a new calculation. DV8883. And here we've, again, if we look at our post-burn vehicle mass, it's this number. And an empty vehicle mass would be that number. So we've got enough fuel to do the burn. But I don't want to empty the vessel doing this braking burn, because I still need some fuel to actually land. Speaking of landing, bring up map. Okay, we've already got Titan selected, so let's target Titan base. And it's reasonably equatorial. Off-plane distance is showing 700 kilometers. Let's see if we can do something about that. Not like that, though.
Translation. Rotation.
So I'm going to go prograde to Titan and bump the translation thrusters a bit to see if I can work with that off-plane distance a little.
Translation. Rotation.
I'm just going to do a little bit of a burn in this direction. I don't feel like I can afford the fuel for that, so I'm not going to continue with that. I'll just have to go around the planet or the moon to get lined up with the base. Okay, now looks like we might actually be speeding up a little bit at this point. And we need, again, we need 2,400 kilometers if we want to break all the way. But I'm saying that I don't need to break all the way because the atmosphere is really thick. And I don't know quite where I need my minimum altitude to be.
Translation. Rotation.
Go ahead and raise it a little bit. Well, actually, this will be very helpful too. My capture delta at Titan is 6,630 meters per second, so at the very least, I think that would be a good number to use. Instead of trying to eliminate all the velocity, I'll just try to get captured. So let me put in that number. And then I would need to start that burn at 1,300 kilometers. I'm going through all this in my head. I apologize if I'm not doing things quickly enough. It's just, there's a lot to think about here. Because I'm planning this on the fly. I don't have like a whole, checklist that says, okay, do this and then do this. I'm building the checklist as I go, which is definitely not the ideal way to do things, but the whole point of these Learn With Me videos is to learn how to do this stuff. So I'm thinking, let me Control S here and save, because I feel like I'm in a state here where this is a doable situation to be in. The only real question I have is this altitude. How high up above the surface of Titan do I have to be to not incinerate? So I'm saved here. I'm going to stick with this altitude. And then when I get to 1,300 kilometers, I'm going to do a braking burn to get captured. So that's the plan. Let's do that. Okay, let's warp time ahead. And here when we get a little closer in, we'll go retrograde. Okay, we're pretty close. Let's turn the vessel around.
Rotation.
The Europa landing was a bit easier than this for a variety of reasons. My plan for getting to Europa was much better because I didn't go in tight around Jupiter. hang on here, let me, got myself a little confused on the direction there. And that's what I was looking for. Okay, so now I'm retrograde to Titan. When you have the surface view up, it shows you the velocity vector for the forward motion, but it doesn't show you the velocity vector for the backward motion. So I had to switch to orbit Titan to see this, but I would rather have this view up so I can see these numbers. Okay, so now I'm going to warp time in until I'm at about 1,300 kilometers. And I can also use, obviously I've done this in several videos, I can also use attitude MFD, target relative, target Titan, and then I can use this information to help me better line up with the retrograde. So you can see that the lateral is almost 0. And the vertical is about 0. Okay, let's warp in until we are at 1,000, let's call it 1,400. Getting pretty close. Let me check my information here. See, I'm concerned that I'm going to be getting into the atmosphere too fast again. So I'm going to actually do this braking burn now, because I can see here, you know, according to Transx, I'm really close to getting into the atmosphere of Titan. Okay, let me bring up orbit. Take a look at the external. Watching the PEA. Don't want to let it get too low. If this fails, it's just because I waited too long to start the braking burn. I realize now that I don't want to wait until I'm at that number that burn time calculator gives me, because that's relative to the periapsis, and I don't want to wait till I'm that close. Yeah, we still got a lot of velocity, a lot of delta V to burn through. Yikes, I think I'm going to burn up again. Darn it. Well, if I do, I'm just going to immediately exit out and come back to the scenario at that save point and try again, and I'll just start the burn earlier.
Translation. Rotation.
Let's work on our rotation a little bit. Actually, that might be the wrong way. Yeah, wrong way. And I'm only 870 kilometers above the surface of Titan right now. You can see that number here. I'm guessing when that gets close to 200, if I'm not done with the braking burn, then I'm in trouble. Actually, what I'll do is when I get down to, say, 400 kilometers, I will kill the main engines and go prograde, and then try to set up a atmospheric brake. We'll just see what happens. Getting back to where I'm full retrograde. So you can see my orbital speed's slowed down significantly. Relative to Titan, that is. So we're only 2,500 meters per second away from being captured. I think we might be able to do that with the atmosphere. That is, if I'm getting a good angle on it. Watching my fuel because I need to save some for landing. Alright, let's stop the burn. We need to save some fuel for landing. Let's go prograde to Titan. And let's prepare for some kind of atmospheric braking maneuver. Don't know how well this is going to work out. Let's close the retro doors and radiator. That will definitely cause problems.
Auto start.
And I could actually feel
online.
I could actually feel the atmosphere taking hold of the vessel already. So I'm going to watch the temperature display. And we'll just see
Information.
If we're cutting the atmosphere too low,
80%.
or if we didn't slow down quite enough. Let's see what happens. We're definitely slowing down. See the eccentricity dropping, temperature rising.
Mach 13.
There's really nothing I can do at this point to control it. I don't like the fact that the PEA is dropping like that, though. That's not what I want to see.
Mach 11.
Looks like we're going to get captured for sure.
Mach 10.
And we're cooling
Mach
off.
9.
Okay.
Mach 8.
So now we're captured. I'm trying to
Mach 7.
change the angle of attack to raise the periapsis because we don't want to crash into the ground. That's too much. Now we're gonna, that's actually got us on a bounce.
Mach
Warning,
6.
wing stress. Warning, wing stress.
Okay. Okay, a very odd atmospheric maneuver, but yikes, that's got us bouncing way back out.
Mach 5.
Okay, we're done with TransX. Okay. Okay, that was weird for sure. But we didn't burn up. Any landing you can walk away from is a good landing, right? We haven't landed yet, but we have something resembling an orbit here. Let's see if we can...
Translation. Rotation.
I'm going to use interplanetary MFD. It has a really good orbit circularization program.
Information. APU running.
It'll help me find the best angle to go to circularize. Actually, it'll do it for me. Although it's going to use a lot of delta V to do that. Do I have enough for that kind of delta V? I don't know. I think so. Yeah, it looks like I do. Well, sloppy stuff going on here, but... watching the fuel, watching the delta V, watching the orbit circularization. Don't necessarily need to circularize all the way. Let's just get above the surface on the other side at least. And let's let it circularize because we still got to line up with the base. Okay. Not a mission to be proud of by any stretch of the imagination, but we are in fact in orbit around Titan. So basically the really difficult part of this mission is over, I believe. You know, once you're in orbit around the body, lining up and landing on the base is, you know, pretty remedial stuff. So let me do this. Let me go ahead and save at this point. Pause, and I will end this part of the video here. And I'm going to go ahead and record the next part immediately. But I'm going to go ahead and end this part now that we've got our orbit established around Titan. I'm hesitant to say if you have any questions about what I did here, leave a comment down below. But if you have any questions about what I did here, leave a comment down below. And if you have any comments or anything, leave a comment down below. Just bear in mind that this obviously was not ideal. It worked only because we got a vessel that has stupid powerful engines and we had enough fuel to make it work, but this is not the way to do it. In my upcoming video that will be posted after this one, you'll see how much cleaner and nicer the plan for getting out to Europa was. So I'm going to end this video, and I'm going to start recording the next one right away, and I'm going to try to land on Titan.